Hi everyone, this is Justin Aquino of Game in the Brain, and we are going to have an updated version of how Meme World Generator works. So World Generator is based off the Cepheus Engine World Generator system, except that it has a different set of priorities, and it's really focused on trying to make a very accessible and streamlined um, star system generation system. So one of the priorities is it has to be dice friendly, but at the same time it has to be internally consistent that you could easily make a spreadsheet out of it. And currently, we just kicked off the development of the progressive web app, a browser-based version of World Generation System that allows you to move between your cell phone and your desktop. You can move your saved files between the two so that you can build your setting when you're idle and when you're have nothing better to do. Okay, so what makes this different? So what makes this different from the other systems is that one, there is a focus on trying to be realistic within the constraints of the mechanics, the dice mechanics. So what makes it different is the celestial theory that we work with, particularly how stars are formed, how star systems are formed. So one of the most a divergence from Cepheus Engine and Traveler is that everything's around d tons. No, for future generations who want to get into space, we think in mass, and from mass everything follows. We won't have to when things boil down to its most essential essential components, we work with mass. So the stellar mass is one of the key things in this mechanics. So first is you have to determine the star, and after you determine the star, call this you determine the amount of stuff in the star system. So everything else, this biases the die rolls that follow to what is possible within that star system. So star systems like red dwarfs and brown dwarfs can't have much stuff in them as much as giants that can capture other stars and absorb other stars and capture other things. And of course, when it was formed, there was more stuff to form that star. Okay. So after determining the stars, if you can see the mechanics here, so this is just a overview. I won't go into the details because if the details were popular, then I'd sell more. So call this if the once you form the star, call this, and you'll notice the once you form the star, you already form the distances, the zones. The zones is a play between the gravitational pull of the star and the push of its luminosity, and of course the what happens when all that energy pushing and heating up the other disks, or call this the planets, what happens to them. That's why you could imagine that the lighter materials were farther out in orbit. The denser materials, materials, that's what's closer to our inner star system. So we start looking at the zones. So we do the calculation of the zones, and it's based off Sol. So we think things through a Sol lens. There'll be weirder stars out there. Right now, the way the system is designed so that it is dice friendly, it works with the constraint of let's make it accessible. The software later on will go into more detailed call this systems. So call this side note that when the system was designed, it's designed so that you can create a realistic enough star system so that if the person wants realistic distances between star systems, relationships between the bodies, the gas giants, the planets, terrestrial and dwarf planets, they will have places to go in that star system. In other words, in current Traveler, in current Cepheus engine, the only place worth going to is the main planet or the main world, and that is not true. The what You can in this system modify it that you get already the world that you want, and everything else is a variable. You can do that, but the way the system is procedurally generated, it's the star, and what you get is what you get. You can later on decide what is the habitable planet and make the stories based on that. But currently, it's the star, and then you create a main world, and every other detail is generated. Okay, so it has its own tech level because it is meant to be used for a harder sci-fi, particularly one with no gravitics, and you have a finite delta V, meaning you'll have your nuclear engines, you'll have your kerosene powered rockets, you will have all of these are still relevant, will be relevant in this kind of setting. And you will have that for those of us living here in 2025, the differences 20 years, 100 years makes in our quality of life and the kind of technologies we experience and how that technology affects us matters. So it's for people with like more world building, call this demands. Particularly, this will go into deep economics later on. Okay, so once you generate the star, you'll have a number of tools that will allow you to develop the main world, as I mentioned. And the main world, you can choose it to be a habitat, meaning either a spin gravity or a call this. You can have gravitic habitat, a space station with call this an x-axis, a z-axis for gravity, or you can have a spin hub, etc. It as you can see here, it's millions of call this volume tons, and you have call this you have mega volume tons, and you can have much larger populations in the millions and possibly billions if need be. So call this. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a world. When you have the technology of gravitics, you really are not tied to a world. If you have robotics and stuff, making your own world that suits you is more in the realm than having to convert something. Okay, so yeah, so you can see here, you could see the populations in billions and up to 3 billion. So these variables determine the habitability of certain worlds. Of course, terrestrial worlds in the game, in this mechanic, is defined as near Earth like worlds, meaning its mass is similar to Earth. Of course, most of the planetoids you will encounter are not terrestrial. They are mostly dwarf worlds. So our moon is a dwarf world. In fact, one of the largest dwarf world, only second to Ceres. So it has to be communicated that this has its own language, and it helps define things so that there is a sense of scale and perspective when you're communicating these space ideas. How big is big? How far is far? This is important because this determines the main conflict in a story. What is possible, what is not possible, what options players and the GM who's writing the adventure have in this particular adventure. So this Mneme world generator is meant to facilitate creating adventures by creating the worlds. These adventures take place in procedurally following some constraints, and of course it tries to entertainingly explain how these things work. So note that I have not experienced any world generator that talks about planetary physics. and how it works. Uh, and I hope to make it fun. But anyway, so you can see here it determines the habitability, and of course we have in our setting call this, we have a star map based on the delta V. So delta V budget. So we try to explain delta V maps here. It's the simplest way to an overly abstract way to cover distances. So right now, one of our future projects is to visualize everything in 3D using Godot. And if you follow us, we already had several proof of concepts using the our ships and our space stations are all made in 3D Godot. Our next would be once the app is done, and of course the app makes enough money to pay for the development of the Godot version of the visualization, then we'll make this not as abstract but more precise, and of course we'll make it as user friendly as possible. So here's a delta V map that Nico Salonga made, and Nico Salonga is instrumental in making this. Peter was also our scientific consultant for making sure my ideas were correct. So there's a planetary scientist that helped write this. Okay, so yeah, you'll see everything else is procedural, and one of the things we tried to do was come on, it was written in the 1970s. We're in the information age. Why not update? We have Wikipedia, we have all this knowledge. Why use the antiquated systems? And this is what we did. We fixed it so that things have a more consistent model. There is more room for variety. So you'll notice that and of course you'll notice we put HD Human Development Index so that you see how poor. So coming from the Philippines, coming from a low HDI country, it and of course being like a person from a developing world, for me the experience of having great scarcity is important in the story. I guess some people it's not, but of course scarcity is always a plot, an element in the plot that moves the story forward, what people do because of scarcity, and this is important. Call this in the description of a world. Okay. So you'll notice these different kinds of sources of power. Their sources of powers and kinds of powers are available in the generation, as well as D66. So here's a tech level, and of course when we were talking about the Mneme ship space combat, which has all the ships. So we have also a cultural D66 table as well, and of course other ways to map your star system. Call this if you want it more visual. Of course, for me as a GM, it's this is recommended. I personally don't use it because it is still hard. That's why we developed the editable deck plans. Like, this is the easiest way a GM will be able to prepare for a game. In fact, it's easy, and the GM can just give the ship to the player to edit. So it's these are the kind of things we want. We want to make the game as easy as possible. Okay, so so here is the open gaming license that was used for the game. And okay, I want to show the world generator app. So if you I share this openly. You don't have to buy the book to have it. The book, if you buy the drive-through RPG, you get all these 3D models, a procedural planet generator in Blender in 3D and stuff. It doesn't yeah, so you can, if you want it, you can get it. Call this what was critical for me is that it should be one click. I've tried the other world generators, and it's too much of a time investment for a person that has a family, has work, has social obligations, and you know, has volunteers, it's too much work. You should not make it that much work. That's why we're building the app. So if you want to be a productive member of society and still have time to game, it has to be easier. So what we did was we made the sheet, and I know that some people don't prefer sheet. That's why we're creating the app. And in this sheet, you just have to press the dice roll button, and so when everyone has access to this, make sure when you make a copy of it, you have to grant permissions to run the code. Okay, so when you first click this, it will run a script. Okay, it'll finish. So it finished the script. The screen moves to where the dice is moving. So you'll notice from what was an M-type star, now it's a K-type star, and you could see the K. It's a K9 star, and you could see its luminosity compared to Sol. So 0.13, 0.49 stellar mass, and you see the contents. You see the kind of world it generates. It's a TL14 terrestrial world. We can toggle if it has to be habited or non-inhabited, as well as we can toggle if we want it to be called this a particular kind of world. It has to be a terrestrial kind of world. Okay, so you'll see, as what we discussed a while ago, here are the zones. It's already pre-calculated. What are the zones? Because again, the zones are determined by the gravity and the luminance of the star, the push of the light of the star, the push and the heat, and the gravity drawing it in. So okay, so you hear the details of the star, and for those, okay, so this is a lot of details. We simplify it here in the transpose sheet. So by the way, you can everything is here. So there some are hidden. So you can play with the sheet whatever you want. You can, if you don't agree with the statistics, you can modify it. It's Creative Commons open source. So that's what we did for this. And you can see in this page, this is meant to be cut and pastable to your doc file. So it makes it easier for you to prepare data for the game. So while this is the data summary for the star and the planet, what you call this? Okay, let me see. It'll tell me N74. N74. Array result not expanded because it would overwrite the data in N74. Okay, let me fix this. So there was a detail that was so I had to delete what was here. It was invisible. So I just have to make sure it's back into checkbox mode. Yeah, there's some things that are some things that are invisible and you can't really determine it. So the current system will give these details. We will provide the other details later on, but for now, the details will be the zone, the position, and of course it'll give you an this is arranged by order of position, and of course the the main world, so terrestrial at the infernal, mass, gravity, all the stats are. So note that dwarf worlds do not have they're not as habitable as terrestrial worlds, and the way the statistics are is that all the other worlds are less habitable than the main world. If they happen to be more habitable, so there's a much lower chance for the other worlds to be call this more habitable than the main world. If there is a world that is more habitable, potentially more habitable, then there's it is encouraged that the GM or the world builder give a reason why it's not inhabited. Call this okay. So one of the things that won't that will be appearing in the app version of this is these other details. So low orbit velocity, delta v, how much delta v do you need to get out of here. It's like escape, it's just like escape velocity, and of course limit orbit. So escape velocity is how much delta v budget, how much thrust that you have to expend to get out of the gravity field of this, and then how far is this limit. So if you achieve this much velocity, call this, the planet cannot draw you back in. Of course, you will find yourself in the gravity field of the star, or the next strong gravity. And then of course there's low and high orbit. So this is where you will have your space stations and satellites and objects of interest that are not on the planet. So yeah, they'll, in a harder sci-fi setting, there'll be more space stations, zero gravity manufacturing, habitats, etc. Especially if the world itself is very call this hazardous. Okay, so yeah, so this is Mneme World Generator, and this is the book. So you can download the book free. Actually, if you go to the website, you can download it free. You don't really have to pay. We provide the full book sample. It'll just have a watermark. If you don't care about the watermark, it wouldn't bother you. And then what you call this? It comes with a free adventure if you buy. And the adventure, we separated it. Looks like no one gave any feedback about if they liked it or not, so we just released it for free. So the call this. So 2 parsecs from Sol is the adventure that you get both for free, and it's already bundled with call this Mneme World Generator, and it is an example of generating a world using Mneme World Generator and just copy pasting its contents and filling up the details. So this is meant. This is not exactly meant to be canon. It's just meant to show how much easier it is to just build a setting, have an adventure, and as a GM, you're not anchored. You can make the players change the setting because it's not. You did not call this. You're not superly or overly invested in it. Okay, so what you call this? So what we did was we created. So when you get this adventure, you get the doc files, so you can use these images to make your own star system if you feel like it. So we created a simple legend that talks about the details, these things, the asteroid belt, disks, and these others. So it should help in the coding of what the setting is. And of course, Nico made call this a beautiful layout of what the stars are, and of course there's the distances. So the distances, okay, so here you'll find the distances, the tables, like the positions, how many AU from each other, etc. So yeah, and of course there's adventures. We try to make sure that everything is there's enough details that the GM doesn't have to work. And again, this is just a free adventure to demonstrate how much easier it is to make an adventure now that all these other details are created. As well as, of course, in our products, you get the 3D models. Especially in the Mneme Space Combat, you get the 3D models to render your own ships and create your own scenes for effect. So again, these stars, they're not as populated as much, although it's this is what the rules came up with. So yeah, die rolls. So here you see this is just an example of creating a setting with Mneme world generator, and of course creating an adventure. So we hope that this will make it easier for you. So um, the app is going to be released as part of Meme World Generator. We won't make a different drive-through RPG account for it. Call this. We'll just add it to the Meme World Generator. I intend to. I hope. I don't want to make the other people pay for it. The people who supported me earlier and gave us a chance. And we hope that what you call this that uh, people like it. Yeah, people are rewarded for taking a chance on us, and of course, hopefully, call this meme world generator, climbs up in the rankings. Okay, so um, hopefully I have explained our product and the ideas behind it and its goals. I know this kind of game style is not common, um, and but the thing about it is it's a kind of game style that is a lot of work, and uh, there are, and hopefully we find the people who need those tools to make their games easier to prepare for and run. So we hope to be able to cater to those people who need that. And yeah, if you like us, hopefully you can recommend us to your friends and call this I guess spread it through word of mouth. But we're happy trying this anyway. So yeah, this is Justin Aquino of Game in the Brain, signing off.